X-Pac 1, 2, 3, 60.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your host, Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 1, 2, 3, 60, everyone. Ooh, that sounded good. I could hear myself very nicely. Wow.
Hi. How's it going?
Welcome, everyone.
Yes.
Welcome to X-Pac 1, 2, 3, 60. Yeah. I don't know. I just got caught up in hearing myself talk over the intro. I don't know why that really amused me so much. But, yeah. No. Hi, you guys.
Hi.
It's good to be back.
Here with Steve Kaufman and Denise Salcedo.
Again, I'm glad to be back because last week I was like, man, I always feel so lame when I miss one of the shows. Like,
why?
Because I just feel like I'm missing out,
Well,
you know?
we miss you here, but, when you're out doing like one of your assignments or, one of your projects or whatever else you got going, I'm really happy for you. So,
thank you.
Yeah, that's why we do the show and have you on the show. So, so you can help you with the other stuff you do. We got to get something out of the show, right?
What? I get lots out of the show. I get lots.
But you gotta also do paid. You gotta also do paid work.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Paid work is important. No one will ever fault you.
So no one's getting rich on Xpac 1, 2, 3, 60. Everyone.
Wait, what? I was sold a bill of goods.
Actually, no, I'm getting rich, and I'm just lying to everyone. I'm telling everyone we haven't made any money. And meanwhile,
I was gonna say, are we breaking the fourth wall here? What's going on?
No, I just like
there wasn't a fourth wall either way.
Yeah. Happy to have you back.
Yay, glad to be back.
Yeah, Jimbo's gone again. His work
picked up.
Yeah,
Paid
they
work.
called him back.
Yeah. So speaking of returns, apparently CM Punk returned over the weekend in a mask and a hoodie, and he's obviously not saying anything about it.
Yeah, but it was really weird, and I'm assuming it was him. Because I haven't heard anyone credible say otherwise.
I feel like it's like wrestling's worst kept secret. Everybody knows it's CM Punk. There's that one photo of like him wearing the sweater that he was wearing that night, and then also like a side-by-side photo. And then Silas Young also posted some tweets basically saying like, oh, some punk like showed up in a mask or something like that. I forgot the words verbatim for that. But I was like, okay, everybody is already saying it's CM Punk. Everybody's already believing it's CM Punk.
And okay, I know like there was like a special occasion as far as the venue, and it was the last time wrestling was going to be at that venue, and a lot of people got their start there, or whatever. But I'm just trying to figure out what was the purpose of that, other than hey, let's just have some fun and put a mask on and get in the ring and do a little something. No one knew. Like there was no reaction. It was like, what the hell's going on here? No one was there, from what I could tell by watching, no one was going, oh my God, it's Punk under a mask. They were just like, who's that dude in black?
I think I heard one person in the video say, CM Punk. Literally, one person.
Right.
So, I don't know, maybe that person was just very hyper aware. But then again, he did do the GTS, but granted, he looked like a lot thinner because he's lost a lot of weight. Sure. But apparently, CM Punk has been known to do this in the past, where he has came out and done some run-ins like this. In the past again.
Okay.
So, but I don't know what this means. Does this mean, is this foreshadowing that CM Punk may finally be returning to the ring?
Maybe. Probably. Here's the thing. I've said this, I don't know, for a while. I haven't said it in a while because the subject hasn't come up really as much, but, because he has doubled down on, I'm never coming back to wrestling. He said that over and over again, and history tells me that, eventually he will return to wrestling. So many people that are just as So I was going to say Headstrong. We got, by the way, RVD's coming up a little bit later in the show to talk about his documentary Headstrong. But no, so a lot of people in entertainment that mean it just as much as he does eventually come back. I'm talking about, look at musical acts, for instance, the Eagles, When Hell Freezes Over, right? Legit. They meant it just as much as he does. The Misfits, Glenn Danzig's War, never going to happen, never going to reunite with Jerry Only and the Wrestling Misfits. They're gonna have. I mean, they've had several shows. They've, you know, I mean, that just goes to show you. Like, and trust me, I know Glenn Danzig.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one is as stubborn as that guy. So, trust me, like, he will be back. I promise you, at some point, CM Punk will be back involved in wrestling. And I mean, and no one should go like, oh, see, we told you, like, because it's his life.
Yeah.
Mind you, like, I mean, and at the time he means it. Like when he's saying I'm never coming back, he means it. It's just that, you know, like history shows that everyone else that meant it too ends up coming back. So, and I can see, I can honestly see him showing up in AEW. That could be like this huge surprise that they're waiting to drop, like, you know, with the announcement of a TV deal.
How do you think CM Punk appearing on AEW or signing with AEW would change the landscape of wrestling, considering that people have been essentially on the edge of seeing him appear somewhere and having him appear in AEW after he's been so disgruntled with WWE? Do you think that changes things? How does that work?
I don't know. It'll be a big deal.
Yeah.
That's all I know. It'll be a really big deal if he comes back in that situation.
And it's his life and it's his world. If he wants to turn up as this masked character he's created.
Exactly.
And even because Nick Hausman, friend of the show, had tweeted something saying that when Andy Kaufman was Tony Clifton, he wasn't always Tony Clifton. Sometimes Bob Zamuda was Tony Clifton, and then Andy Kaufman would show up and mess with everyone's mind.
Yeah, because the Bob Zamuda Tony Clifton was like spot on.
Yes. That they created the character together to a certain extent, that they were one and the same, and depending on who you booked, when you booked, you can still see Tony Clifton at the Comedy Store.
Wow.
Now, and Andy Kaufman
does it now. Nick Hausman does Tony Clifton now.
Wait.
Like, yeah, you didn't see him when he did it with Jerry Lawler?
Oh, okay. Oh, like informally. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying he's.
Well, he doesn't tour like as fucking Tony Clifton or anything,
official,
but he's done it.
The official Bob Zamuda anointed.
I think so.
Certified in person. It's Tony Clifton, but I wouldn't be shocked if CM Punk wanted to do something like that, which is something we've never seen before. But
he just might have just got wild hair
too.
up his ass and just felt like going out there and doing something.
I feel that's just as likely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm not doing anything tonight.
And so, yeah, it's up to him. Like, okay, and it's like I say with anyone that says, I'm retiring and, okay, that's it. It's great. And guess what? You reserve the right to change your mind at any time. Mm-hmm. Any time. Now, mind you, like when you have this big, huge retirement match and they put you in the Hall of Fame the night before, however that worked with Nate.
That's exactly how it worked with Nate.
Like, I can understand why people go, oh, come on. Like, I mean, that.
And there was tears with that tears.
And it was real.
Yeah.
You know, and it was. That was his last match in WWE. So, like, okay, it was fine because there's no, like, return matches in WWE. But I don't know why I got off on that.
No, but that's credible.
Mr. ADD here.
That's a similar moment that I think WWE did a good job of convincing all of us that, no, this is it for Rick. Rick is done.
And it was.
In
WWE.
Because they thought he would take that office job and be Ric Flair just under the WWE guys, and then didn't take too long for him to be like, I want to go to TNA. I want to do stuff. I want to do mortgage stuff with Conrad. I want to constantly keep making my own money. That's.
You know what I was watching? Not to change the subject, but because I was showing my girlfriend because she's a comedy writer, author, and all that, all around funny lady. I was showing her the Shockmaster debut.
Did she enjoy it?
She
what was her reaction?
Huge, and it hurt her. Like it hurt her for Fred.
Yeah.
Because like I explained to her, that was his debut, and that was it. He was done as soon as he fucking tripped and fell through the fucking entrance. He was done.
Oh, man.
I mean, the whole segment leading up to it was a bunch of guys talking over each other, and it was incredibly bad. It was so hard.
I think it's.
I don't know. I didn't want to get off on that subject.
No, but
it just popped into my head.
But while we're there, the Shockmaster was. I think the Shockmaster is epic as a debut in the sense that, like, on Tony Schiavone's show, he was just covering Super Brawl 1, which was Kevin Nash as Oz, which is a one that gets mentioned in a similar breath. But at least everything happened as planned with that debut.
Yes.
It's like, no, we wrote this character. It's Oz. Yes. We have the vocals. We have everything. Like, he's going to come down to the ring and look huge, and it's going to be amazing. This, he tripped and fell. The helmet came off.
And it's like, okay, and the thing about the whole, like, the helmet and everything, when you're looking at it, it's like, oh, they took a fucking stormtrooper mask and took some glitter and covered it in glitter. Like,
and
fuck.
And they made it.
And even like the Oz, like, okay, so the Oz mask, you know, Kev said that thing was incredibly expensive.
Really?
And I'm like thinking, how can it be expensive? It just looks like the fucking old man mask from the Spencer's Gifts.
But they hired they hired a prosthetics guy to like really lay it in. And
I don't know, but anyways, yeah, no, yeah, that was just, I showed it to her.
That's just,
and as much as like we belly laughed, it was like still you got that you feel for Fred, and so I explained to her like now, like okay, like it's come full circle, and like you know Fred gets bookings because of that now, and
yeah, and they had an action figure, it's a Comic-Con exclusive.
Yeah.
I own it. It's not a Stormtrooper helmet for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
that was a worthy sidetrack. Worthy endeavor.
Why not?
I think.
Right.
So
yeah, CM Punk. Hey, if he wants to come back, come back. If you don't.
Love it.
And people would love to have him back. And you know, if he doesn't come back, a lot of people just continue to miss him a lot.
Which will just make the bed for whenever he wants to come back, if he wants to come back.
Even if he's like 50 years old, trust me. Yeah, eventually.
That's true. Well, moving on, we did have another, you can say, refreshing or very brand new return on Monday Night Raw of Bray Wyatt's character has essentially been reinvented into something totally opposite to what he was prior. We have now been introduced to the Firefly Funhouse, where Bray Wyatt is sort of a kid's host, and he has a kids laugh track with kids clapping, and it's fun and it's quirky and it's
great,
totally
actually.
Unexpected.
And it's very good. That's very cool, and like I think a lot of people, as soon as they saw it, I don't know, they were just waiting to shit on it. Like I think and a lot of people get it though. Like the people that then immediately grab their phone and go to Twitter and start going, oh, this is bullshit, like and actually watched it. I think we're going, oh wow, I think they might have something here because like just thinking about the Bray Wyatt character, like. When that whole thing debuted, and just what a great job he did with that, and that speaks to his just overall talent and brilliance, and so like this is going to be no different. Like I mean, he's going to put the same, and it's obvious. Like
also down to the subversion, because for the last 2 weeks. There was a buzzard. There was a creepy doll. Up until this actual segment, they aired it again, where it's like, oh, it's a buzzard. It's a this. It's a that. It's the Undertaker coming back for the umpteenth time. We've seen, like, we all felt way ahead of this. That I really enjoyed. Like, no, it's Pee-wee's Funhouse, but it's Bray Wyatt, and it's still Bray Wyatt.
Yes. So like that darkness is still there. So that's the thing that I'm really looking forward to see what they do with that, and also. Looks like he's in really good shape.
Yeah.
He looks like he got, he redistributed some of that weight. He's still a big old...
Even his face looks different. Yeah. Like, he just looks like a new person to me.
Yeah. Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his beard game is strong right there. Nice and,
it's a good cut.
Looks like he just got from the barbershop. Very nice.
When I first saw this video, I was like, because I watched it afterwards, so I didn't know what the fans were thinking, what they were saying, if they thought it was good or bad. So I watched it like without having that pre other people's thoughts, having my own opinion. And I saw this, and I was like, man, I love this because it reminds me of Blue's Clues. And I was like, man, I hope no one hates this because I'm gonna feel like a loser if I actually like it,
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
He's gonna have a mailbox. He's gonna have a little talking soap. I'm hoping they go all out with this.
Me too.
I know all the words to all the Blue's Clues songs because my son loved it.
I just like this. I also creatively, whatever Bray Wyatt gets himself into, I just trust wholeheartedly that he wouldn't. He strikes me as someone who asks questions when they hand him something. That he doesn't just take it and be like, I'll just do it. Like he's just like, no, what is this? Let's make it better. Let's make it perfect. And I'm excited to see where he moves with this.
Yeah. Let's see what they do next week.
All right, and then last week you guys talked about a new change. So the War Raiders last week were renamed to the Viking Experience, and I know you guys talked about this last week, but now we have another update. They are no longer the Viking Experience, but they are now the Viking Raiders. So
The Viking Raiders!
The Viking Machine, I thought, right?
no, it was Raiders.
Really? Okay,
Raiders.
now I'm
No,
confused.
you made a joke. You made
Oh,
a joke. Remember
I'm
you
sorry.
said, "Oh, what if next week they come back and they're the Viking Machine?"
Okay,
and then
that's on me.
we were talking about that, but
It
thoughts?
actually says Viking Machine on the board right there.
That Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, okay. So I'm sure that most people still aren't happy. I don't know. I guess I'm just, I have this idea that everyone's still going to bitch about that. And I haven't really looked, so I'm not sure what, like, the general consensus is on, Viking Raiders. But, like, I mean, everyone was so up in arms over Viking Experience and how it's just the worst thing ever. And, yeah, it was bad. It was terrible. And this is so much better. So much better because they were the War Raiders. Like, okay, so they are Vikings. And, I mean, it could... Come on.
Anyone
All
who's-
right, this is fine. We can work with this.
And also, anyone who's complaining today there's very much a Schadenfreude. Let's get upset to be
Schadenfreude,
like let's get upset to be upset instead of like I don't know. This time last week you were upset and they listened to you and then they made a change and now I don't know. Like, and the joke I made was if they're the Viking Machine next week, then it's a problem. Then they're just changing.
That's not a bad name either.
But if they change the name every week, then it becomes who are these people? Or just the Vikings. The Vikings would be fine. You probably can't trademark that.
I mean, they have some plans for them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed their, it was a one-sided affair in there with the Lucha House Party.
Yep.
And the crowd could have been better. I wasn't overly impressed with the crowd, what they brought, to the table. Because, I mean, they're part of the show too, right? Like, in a way, right? They're the extras or whatever. I mean, not that,
But no, they're...
You know what I
they
mean?
add to the ambience, the energy.
Part of the,
They're the
cetera.
third competitor.
Yeah, and so, I just thought they were sitting on their hands for a lot of stuff out there last night.
I think it happened. Although I will say sometimes the pacing of their show of a Monday Night Raw is such that here's the Viking not experience, then here's Lucha House Party. Now we're gonna sit for 2 minutes in a commercial break, and they're just all gonna like.
So yeah, they've been doing that. They've been sending people like out to the ring and then making them. And I've been part of that. Like I've done that countless times where we make our entrance and then go to commercial break, and then have to sit in there in the ring for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. What is it? 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
Something like 2 minutes, 2 seconds, and it takes 3 seconds to come back probably.
And
That's.
Yeah, it's okay. Like the people get used to a lot starting and stopping and waiting and things like that. Things that the flow is going nicely, and then whoop, I got to take a commercial break, and then try to pick up where we left off, and you don't want to on Raw. Like you go to commercial break, they don't have that picture in picture, so you can still see the action during commercial break. So, they're probably saving the good stuff for when they come back on air.
Of course.
So, the match goes into a little bit of a dip during commercial break usually. So
Also,
I don't know why I'm even talking about
but
this.
that is,
I'm just
but
like
also
rambling
it is,
here.
But you had mentioned the crowd, and I want to point out that as a TV product, they're more worried about how do we pace our commercial breaks that they're not as worried about how do we have this crowd into the match at every moment. But
So yeah.
they're
But
trying.
anyways, so apparently they have some, plans. They're going to shoot some content with Vikings.
Sorry.
Viking Raiders.
TVR.
Let me say that one more time. Viking Raiders. All right.
TVR for short.
So yeah, Yeah, they have plans. I mean, look at them. They ran through those guys last night. They had a real strong win. They looked good. Like all, yeah, it wasn't like a classic match, but like all this shit looked really good. When in getting their shit in, they did it. They did it in a
Also, they're current.
Yeah,
they are current NXT Tag Team Champions.
Are they still?
They are, and I haven't read taping spoilers, but I assume.
I gotta say one thing, though.
Please.
Vikings in Scandinavian people have never been known for their tans, and I think they should just lay off the spray tan because it did not look good, fellas. No need for that shit. It was so. Did you notice it? It was so bad.
Well, I honestly, like, for me, I loved War Raiders, and I kind of feel like I'm still going to probably keep calling them that. That's out
fine.
of, like, accidental, like, I'm used to it already, sort of thing. And I think that's why some of the comments that I saw on Twitter, some of the feedback were just kind of like, really, they changed the name, and then they changed it again. It's kind of like saying, oops, we made a boo-boo the second time. So I think that's why people are upset. It's like, okay,
what are they upset about?
Like, they changed it once, and then they changed it again.
Okay, so they changed it to something that's not as bad, and so that's what they're mad about?
I don't know how to explain this. This
People
is
like
what
to
I've
get
been
mad.
seeing, all
It's
right?
just so silly.
There's just a lot of reasons to get mad online. But
Always,
anyways.
about everything.
It's just, to me, I know I'm going to still think of them always as the War Raiders. It's just like my brain function will go to that,
And they were War Machine before that, and I do think if you were going to change, if when they come in NXT you change their name, and you're sensitive toward the word war, but then you change them from War Machine to the War Raiders, that gets a little confusing to then make them Vikings.
So
Instead of them being Vikings.
I even read, since we're still talking about the Viking Raiders, I even read that, like, almost right up until they went through the curtain, they were thinking about calling them the Berserkers. And I would be just fucking fine with that. Just fine with that. I thought the Berserker was a great name for John Noir when he was the Berserker. And I mean, it fits. I mean, a berserker, that's what that is. I mean, they are berserkers. It would have been a pretty good name. I don't know why they didn't go with that.
It sounds like they had a lot
They
of...
could have brought John Norden to be their fucking manager.
A one-night only manager. Yeah, like, I'm into it. They're still a great team, and they seem to have great plans for them in the ring.
Yeah.
And bell to bell, there's no problem. Which is the positive, that we're all worried about their name. Because bell to bell, it's... Oh, great. Everything's great.
And they're creative. As long as they're creative is good.
All right, now we're moving on. So, again, next month, May 25th, Double or Nothing is being held in Las Vegas. A match that has just been added is Cody will be facing his brother, Dustin Rhodes. Dustin apparently asked for his release in January from WWE, and he just posted recently on Twitter that he's gone, but he was thankful for everything, every opportunity. He, for everyone to always remember the name of Goldust. He wrote a very lengthy paragraph, very touching. Yeah. Obviously, how can you not be after having so much history in the company?
Yeah, and also just, all the trials and tribulations in Dustin's life, some of which are public knowledge, and, just the battle that so many of us fight, and just the remarkable job he's done with getting everything together in his life, and I can relate to that. Like we, it's not like we took the same path to our, coming up out of the darkness or whatever, but I see that, and and I've known Dustin, forever. Since I was a kid. I know, like, legit have known him since I was 15. And, and I wish him the best. And I think it'll be good. Because he's really good in there still, and I think he's going to bring, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that. Honestly, I would have. It's kind of a big deal, this match. Like, and to just, I would like to have seen one, like, it not be on this first big show of theirs. Of the company. Like, I would like to have seen maybe an angle shot on Double or Nothing. And then, the next really big show they do have the brother versus brother.
Because they were building it up on their Double or Nothing series, but then
It's not the same.
it's how many people watch that? I mean, I haven't seen a few of the episodes.
That's the only thing
so-
about that is like I'm surprised that they're throwing that out there so quickly. That's all.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the Double or Nothing card real fast to kind of see what else they have going on. But while we do that, you had mentioned with TV coming, we were kind of curious. You mentioned CM Punk earlier.
Yeah.
Who do you think in your mind would be going to All Elite Wrestling?
What do you
in
mean
the future?
going?
Or have been
signing with
Double or Nothing?
I just think okay. Once a TV deal is officially announced, I think that's when I think that's when we'll probably hear some more of whatever potential big names they're going to sign. I kind of told you.
Okay.
Who I think's going to show up there. So I don't want to go.
Okay.
I don't want to
I
go
was like,
out
are we
there
going to
on
tell
it.
the people
No.
or not tell the people
No.
what you think? Or
No,
Okay.
because I just don't want to,
Yeah.
spoil it.
That's
or like
fair.
ruffle any not ruffle any feathers,
Yeah.
but like sort of start something without
Yeah.
maybe even it being like true or untrue or just something.
Or like they have this big plan and like they don't want anyone to even think that it could be going in that direction, and then here I am with some kind of insight that I don't even realize I have, and I fucking spoil it for everyone, and some people with their shows and their social media, like if they get some kind of a piece of information, it's like this obsession. Well, I gotta be the first one to put it out there. See, I'm the one that told everyone. It was me. I'm the one with the info.
And that's the problem
fuck.
too, because you
Yeah.
got that's why certain journalists are respected, because they wait, they check their facts.
And then someone will scoop them
Exactly.
because they
so
didn't wait.
but even though if you get the scoop out first, it doesn't really matter unless you have more concrete details and information to
Yeah.
support that scoop. Because then
Yeah,
That's
and
just
then
my
I've heard
thought.
since we're talking about this, I've heard, and then some people are just so negative on that AEW thing. They're going, they're gonna buy time on. No, they're not. They are not. You watch, no fucking way. Guarantee it. No.
In this age, a wrestling company doesn't need to buy time.
Well, not at the moment. Not
Yeah.
like them with their connections and all the,
Like-
everyone knows how fucking serious the thing is.
The owner is, and
Yeah, just everything. So.
But that would be like claiming like Impact is going to buy time, and I'm like, no, they'll be on Twitch. Like a wrestling company doesn't need to buy time if they already have a platform and they're known that people will find them and watch them for free.
Because it's not, and people could say they're unproven. No, when you sell that many tickets in 30 seconds or however fucking long like it took, that's something you can say, hey, look. We have this. We've done this. We have a track. It's not the first time. We did a lot. 8 months ago as well. However long ago the first one was.
Well, a couple months ago, there was this big argument on Twitter because I believe someone asked Dave Meltzer who he thought was the second top promotion here in the U.S., and I believe he said it was AEW, and some people got really, really upset about that because they're like, what are you talking about? They don't even have a network. They don't even have like a network. They don't have this. They don't have that. But then he brought up that point that you just said, when they're selling out these shows, that here in the U.S.,
Yes.
that's
People
obviously
just-
saying something and putting them.
People just love to argue with Dave Meltzer, and the guy's not perfect. Okay, and he's an interesting fella. I've known him for a long time. He's a good dude, actually. Like he really is. It's just, they just love fucking arguing with him on Twitter, and he just loves feeding into it. I wonder why he does that. Something I'm like, Dave, damn, how much fucking bandwidth you got? Like, I can't fucking waste time on all that shit.
He literally replies to everyone.
Everyone. Even to tell him he's not replying.
Or even the link off to a time that he replied that answered the question. Like he would personally do it.
I just don't argue with him when it comes to numbers. I don't argue with anything. I don't argue with anyone about anything. But yeah, some people. I don't know.
No, that's
Yes, that's a very good argument. They're a number 2 company without even having a show yet because of just the things.
just the things that are the things that are behind them, the roster they already have, That's a fair argument, and if you don't like Dave Meltzer's opinion, you shouldn't ask for it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true too. Yeah.
What?
The fuck else I was just
You
about
said the
ready to bring
thing
up.
that we thought you were gonna say. What?
What was I gonna say? Oh, whatever.
On Dave Meltzer, or we got
No, it was
okay.
something to do with that though.
about news and.
Yeah.
All right.
If it comes to you. But this Saturday is the Crockett Cup. They
Yep.
have 11 matches announced, including the 3 tournament semifinals and finals matches that are TBD. It is, I don't want to say headlined, but for sure on top is singles match for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, Nick Aldis versus Marty Scurll. This is going to be a good match.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They've been building up the friendship for that match, the long friendship that Nick and Marty have had. Plus,
And they
what it
have
means
too, because
for
I've
the
had
belt.
Nick on the show a couple times.
And
But
we've had Marty as well.
yeah, and you know that was something that was discussed when Nick was on the show about his friendship with Marty. You know, before any of this. I mean, this was a couple years ago, I think. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested in this whole thing. I mean, a lot of it is just the nostalgia of, okay, we got the Crock Cup, and like they're going to present it in a way that has a nostalgic feel. Like the graphic package is going to be old, like, you know, retro looking, the ring apron, you know, all of that.
Dave Lagana, he's also been on friend of this show, also been on this
Love
show.
Dave.
Lagana has mentioned on more than one occasion that he has a very specific idea for what the brand of the NWA is in current wrestling, and I think it's really playing out now.
They're
Like,
doing a really good job sticking to that and being true to that.
like probably 1 or maybe 2 big shows like a Crockett Cup a year, and then a pop up here and there, and then championships. But then people are just working elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect way for the NWA as a brand to exist in today's world. Willie Mack versus Colt Cabana for the NWA National Championship. I like both these guys. I kind of feel like it would be Colt Cabana here.
Nah.
No, they're
Nope.
I
Willie
think
Mack is
Willie
the
Mack
workhorse?
just has, he's just to me, he's a next level talent. I can't
Yeah,
go over
no,
Willie Mack
they're
enough.
not. Yeah, and that's gonna be. They're gonna. You know, because I think Willie has signed an exclusive
with NWA.
with like NWA, ROH. Like I think they all kind of chip in and give Willie like a guarantee, like he has an exclusive deal with them for like his matches streaming on somebody serve, like something like that.
Okay, something like that. That they have a lot behind him. Whereas
Yes,
Colt
and
Cabana is
so-
very much freelancing around the world.
Yes.
Still going to be a hell of a match,
Yeah.
and that makes sense. Willie Mack is a bit of a workhorse.
Right.
Next up, Allison Kay versus Santana Garrett for the now vacant NWA Women's Championship. Vacant because Jazz, former ECW superstar, vacated it due to injury, and we have no more information than that.
I hope she's all right. There's
Yeah.
more important things in wrestling.
Yeah.
Even though this is a wrestling podcast and we're talking about wrestling, like, you know, real life, Jazz's health is
Absolutely.
you know, she's a great lady. Straight shooting lady. She's a badass. She works I think she still works as a prison guard.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, in a men's prison, I think. Yeah.
I like
I
Allison.
think. I'm not sure
Okay.
on that. I could be.
I like
taking
Allison
liberties.
Kay in this one. I saw her down in the Man Classic.
I don't know. I don't know her.
She's got her head on straight with like just her hustle in this business for a very long time. I think but that takes nothing away from Santana Garrett. There's a wild card tag team battle royal for the 8 seed. For the 8 seed in the tournament, they don't have any people announced.
I think they're. I mean, yeah. I kind of went. I saw the card, and like, there's a few things that stood out to me. Like, I'm interested to see how Briscoes versus Rock and Roll Express turns out.
Me
like,
too.
How they do that. So
I think either way it'll be interesting.
interesting, yeah.
Interesting will be for sure.
And I think they do. I think they'll have a good crowd.
They'll for sure have a good crowd.
Yeah. So, all right. Hey, so that's pretty much it. Hey,
Yeah.
tell everyone where they can find Crockett Cup if they want to. Do you know? Do you guys have that info since we're talking about them?
Well, you can check them out on
Fight
Twitter
TV?
at
Is it Fight
NWA.
TV?
They have all the links and information, the pinned comments where you can get all the links and stuff to watch the show. Again, it's the 27th, so April 27th is the Crockett Cup.
All right. Well,
Do you want to give the quick shout out? Talk about the pro wrestling tees, the 5 million.
Look, I don't want to do a big thing about it, but like they're great. They're a huge part of why the overall wrestling, the health of the industry is. Let me start over. Pro wrestling tees, Ryan Barkant are a big part of why wrestling is healthy right now. They provided income stream for a ton of wrestlers out there, from people my generation and older to all the guys, the current, guys out there in the indie scene and everywhere else. And I just read that they have paid out over $5 million in royalties. That's $5 million out to, pro wrestlers, independent wrestlers, that's an amazing thing. And hats off to Pro Wrestling Tees and Ryan Barkamp for that. Very grateful for that. So I just thought it was worth mentioning, when I saw that, because that's a great thing. $5 million. Jesus. All right. Well, let's take a break real quick. We're going to come back with Rob Van Dam. Welcome back to X-Pac 12360, everyone. Joining us over the phone right now, I think from Las Vegas, California. Jesus. You're not the only one that's been hit in the head a bunch of times, Rob. Hey, so joining us over the phone right now is Rob Van Dam, the legendary whole fucking show, Rob Van Dam. And he's here to talk about Headstrong. Rob, thank you for coming on, man. It's been a while. You were one of the earlier guests, and you were a great guest. And it's been too long since you've been back on.
Yeah. We always talked about me coming into the studio and doing it, but now you're in Los Angeles, Nevada, and here I am.
Hey, so Rob, man, so I watched Headstrong. So we're going to talk about your documentary Headstrong, and so I watched it, and starting this thing out, you weren't starting out to make a documentary about concussions. It was obvious, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, the original idea. So sometimes I do stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And this was one of those times. There was a tour set up, like 7 days. Tom Garland, my manager in that world, said, I got a guy that can film the whole tour and then make like a little movie, off the road trip. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like to, show a little bit of the comedy and show also just what it's like being me. Like I wanted to share my life because I get such a outstanding reception everywhere I go. It's like, it's a reward, I guess, for the last 30 years of bumping my ass off. But people love me. Like they get excited and I'm sure you get it too, but it's like adults like become little kids, like, oh my God. And I thought, it'd be cool to show that. And that was the idea, but I showed up on day one for this stand-up comedy tour with some side effects from a match that I had a couple days before. I got a concussion, and it gave me a vision impairment. So I kept thinking, I'm going to stick to the plan. This vision impairment's going to go away.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be fine by the time I wake up tomorrow. But I kept waking up and like, damn, I didn't shake it off yet. And the concussion symptoms became such a big part of not only the tour, but of my life.
Yeah.
So then the documentary, of course, had to take its own life and became about something else.
Yeah, and so was the vision stuff, was that the only symptom you had? You didn't have like headaches or anything else to go along with it?
No, it was just a vision. Although that threw me off so much. Like I was so off after the tour. After the tour, when I came home, and this isn't on. You know, I didn't have the camera with me during all this, but when I was trying to make doctor's appointments to get my brain checked out, and then they told me I needed also to make vision therapy appointments and all this and that. During that time, I was still having double vision. I didn't have headaches or anything, but my memory was a little bit compromised, and I think it might have just been because of the stress I was going under, trying to do everything with double vision. So I missed so many appointments. Like in the first week or two, I kept making appointments and then missing them, and that would get me more frustrated, which would make my brain even more cloudier, and make it even harder to do everything. I was so off my game, but it was just the double vision though that ended up, even right after the match. I didn't even hit my head that hard either.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, because I got the impression it wasn't even that much that big of a head impact.
Not at all. And over the years, this has happened to me, hundreds of times where just the back of my head just hit. Sometimes I'm doing a back somersault, and just from the back of my head, just hitting the mat. Sometimes it'll make me dizzy, everything will be spinning. Yeah. But it usually goes away in 2 seconds. I shake it off, I regain my composure. This time I couldn't shake it off, and it was the first time I've ever had that happen. But even after the match, I felt fine. It's just that I could see great out of either eye if I closed one eye, but when I opened them both, I saw double, and I waited and waited for that to go away all night. I was the last one leaving the arena. Like everyone else already left. And finally I said, well, I guess it's not going to heal itself right now. So what I did was I just closed one eye, and then I was able to drive fine. Yeah. But what I did though, this is important too. Let me get this out for anybody listening. Cause I thought that I knew enough about concussions and stuff, but I learned so much more than I ever wanted to. But one thing that's important that I learned is that I did the opposite of what I should have when the concussion symptoms were first apparent, because my instincts told me I needed brain stimulation. I went home. Yeah, I went home and I tried to read. I tried to watch TV. I even took an Adderall.
Shit!
And now looking back at it, that's probably why the symptoms lasted so long, because you need rest.
Yeah, you do. Like a lot of times when there's massive head trauma, a person will be put into an induced coma, so their brain can rest and repair itself. Yeah. Or
wow. Now I know.
Yeah. No. So
now I know. So next time I'll be doing the right thing. I called Chris Nowinski, our friend that studies brains, and he was telling me, dude, don't do the comedy tour. You're not going to be able to get there in front of a room full of people. You're not going to be able to remember what you're talking about. Standing up in front of lights,
standing up and having spotlight shining in your eyes too. Like I can imagine that not being the best. Yeah,
all that would be stuff that I would not recommend somebody else to do if they ended up in the same position. But I made it through. And like I said, it became a much bigger part of my life than I ever expected it to.
Hey, so there's several things I got going through my head right now, and I'm trying to not forget anything. But okay, first thing, since you brought Chris up, Chris Nowinski, are you going to donate your brain? Have you signed up for that?
I believe I was one of the first wrestlers, back in 2007 or 2008.
Yeah.
I donated my brain and spine, and I've always kept in touch with Chris, and I've always found it fascinating, and especially when my friends were dying, like Mike Awesome used to be my partner. Like Mike Awesome and I would drive from town to town together. We were stuck at 9/11. We were stuck in San Antonio when the buildings went down, and then we were just like, wow, that sucks. And we drove on to Houston, not realizing the world had changed. But when he hung himself, I was like, that's the guy that I knew, one of my closest friends. It's so hard to figure out. So of course, when something like that happens, I always wonder, is it CTE? Is it damage from, so I always want to, even help Nowinski. Like sometimes I try to, with that one, I was trying to help get a hold of Mike Awesome's family.
Sure.
To try to get a permission.
Get his brain.
So I'm all into it. Totally.
Yeah, I signed up for that in 2010. So like I haven't been following up with the updates and keeping like, but regardless, like when I pass, they get my brain no matter what. Yeah.
If you don't do the annual questionnaires and stuff, then your file will expire. I was in risk of that in the last year while I was making this movie. They were telling me, because you have to schedule, you do 2 tests, right?
Yeah.
You do one over the phone,
yeah,
and then you're supposed to do it, or I guess they're both over the phone. But anyway, I kept missing it or putting it off or whatever, and eventually they said that to keep my file current, that I was going to have to I don't know, do some stuff it was gonna expire. I was like, no, that would suck just because I forgot to do the things if it ruined my donation. So I asked specifically because I was worried about that. If I'm not following up, like and I asked Chris. I said, like, even if I don't do this, like if I die, you guys still get my brain, right? And he goes, yeah. Cool.
So I mean, at least
yeah, because we're still learning a lot about it. That's what I found out too by going to the doctors and stuff. They could only guess, I'd say, wait, how long is this going to last? So I don't know. Am I going to have it forever? No, I don't think so. Yeah, but if it's been like a year, and I mean, it's getting better, but it's not gone, is it? And they're like, yeah, it'll probably get better. So you're telling me someday, like, it could be years from now, but one day, boom, all of a sudden, I'll be great. I won't need therapy. I'll be able to see fine again. They're like, yeah, I think so. They have no idea.
Well, I mean, there are some things that, like promising therapies and treatments for, like with the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. I don't know if you've looked into that at all yet, but I mean, it worked wonders for Daniel Bryan and a lot of people I know.
That's awesome. I'm glad you reminded me of that. Somebody mentioned that recently, and no, I haven't.
Oh yeah.
I haven't looked. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, everything they did helped too. I mean, the vision therapy, but I got CAT scans and MRIs and staying on top of it, doing everything I could to learn. But I realized that the study's pretty new, you know?
Yeah. So,
like
Rob,
they don't have long-term studies where they can say, yeah, we've been studying concussions for 50 years, so here's what to expect. It's actually like really new. It's so new, they're still getting resistance, from the football coaches and everything, still trying to deny that it's even a legitimate thing.
Like, I don't want to go off into that subject, but it really burns my ass when I see, when I see parents putting their little kids in tackle football, like, it just blows me away with everything that people know now. Man.
Yeah.
It's not for me to tell a parent how they should, or whatever. Like, I don't mean to be judgmental, but knowing what I know and knowing, like, look, Rob, like, for instance, I can relate to so many things you said in your documentary. Just like the fact that, okay, every night we went out there, like, well, I'm not going to say we as in everyone, but like it sounds like it was similar for you. There was a time there where, like, depending on who I was working with, and if I still did the same spots every match, I got knocked out every fucking night. And I knew it was coming. Like, okay, here's the part where I get fucking knocked out from a big boot, And it's just like hundreds, and people some people will listen to you say hundreds of concussions and they'll roll their eyes. That's a minimum. Like, I mean, it could be even more.
Yeah, that's something too. People don't know exactly where to draw the line, what's a concussion and what's not. And I used to feel like a concussion sounded like something real serious. So just like you, when I get my bell rung, I didn't even mind it. It was part of the job.
Yes.
I was like, okay, this is coming. Boom. Okay, at least I'm showing how tough I am that I can take this every night. Now I realize anytime that your senses are off from getting jarred in the head, that's a concussion. So I didn't assume that that's exactly what it was, because your brain is bouncing around in your head and against your skull, and it bruises and it causes impairment, of it could be a lot of different things that could happen from it. The sound sometimes goes out. Sometimes I see slow motion.
Hey, how about deja vu? How about deja vu? Have you ever got knocked out, all of a sudden you're laying on your back on the mat and going through deja vu? Because that's one of the things that would happen to me.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you mention it, I sure have. It's like I've been here before.
Yes.
Right? Is this match a rerun?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, they're all concussions, and now that we know that, we need to look at it a little more serious, because we know that it can lead to long-term damage. And also, Don, in the movie, like when I watch the movie afterwards, I hear, and it's great that people are inspired by seeing me go through life's obstacles just like real people, and persevering, and that's cool. But I hear myself say, all right, well, let's say worst case scenario. Let's say my brain doesn't get better. So, I don't want to wrestle that much longer anyway. So, whatever. People will learn from my experience. But in reality, worst case scenario, my brain would die, and then I would die.
Yeah, and man. Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a lot of things. Are you scared at all? Because I'm not going to lie to you, Rob, because, we all have we all have fears and everything. And I kind of, honestly, I fear losing my mind. Like, I see some people, like have you ever seen Billy Jack lately? Billy Jack Haynes?
Yeah, I did.
Like, some of the shit that,
no, I thought he was fine. I never met him before. I just saw him a couple weeks ago, and I thought he was great.
Well, he comes out like he'll tell all these stories and and I'm thinking is he delusional, or does he really think that this stuff is okay, I don't even mean to just use that guy. I don't even know why I only brought him up, but I see people and I'm like, oh my God, they've lost their fucking eggs are scrambled, their brains are fried, and I'm like, part of me is scared to end up that way.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, before I got all checked out, of course, every time I walk into a room and then I'm like, wait, what did I walk in here for? For the last few years, of course, every time I do that, I start wondering, dude, is that brain damage, or is it just being stoned, or is it age, or paying attention, or what? So yeah, that used to always go through my mind over and over, where I'd start thinking, wait a second, is that a sign? But, since I got checked out and stuff, and I know, not to spoil the movie, but I know right now I don't have CTE. At least I've had 3 different doctors look at my MRI for any kind of, they look for inflammation or irregularities, dark areas. And so I feel better about that now, knowing, that there's still a chance and that I have had. But also something else, most people believe that the more concussions you get, that the more susceptible you are to future ones. I don't know that that's a fact. I don't agree with people spitting that out like they know it's true, and my doctor agreed with me. I still had the double vision. It was only a few weeks, maybe a month at the most, after I got whacked in the head, when my doctor cleared me to wrestle, and he said, if you do get another concussion, it has nothing to do with this last one that you got.
Interesting.
And he said and he said that the last one I got had nothing to do with my history of concussions. He said nothing in my brain showed that my brain was more vulnerable from the other concussions. I got this one on its own, and if I got a new one, he said that would be on its own. And that makes sense to me. I don't, I don't know exactly what's right, but I don't think everybody that thinks that they know, I don't think that they're for sure right. I don't believe that it does make you more susceptible. And I think if I had 0 concussions and Balls Mahoney whacked me in the head with that chair, it would knock me silly, regardless.
Yes. Hey, so it could. I just had a fucking huge brain fart. I wonder why. I don't know I had a really good thought. Anyways. Yeah, keep going.
I get long answers, so you gotta cut me off.
but it's pretty frustrating, man. And it's not because of drugs. I honestly think I can't remember shit because I've been hitting the head a bunch. But hey, so they're okay. So talking to Chris Nowinski at one point, he gave he said there might be a genetic component to all this, which is why some people end up worse off than others.
That makes perfect sense to me. Absolutely. Yeah. I think genetics plays a role in everything. Everything.
Yeah. And also, and Rob, as an avid long time cannabis user, there are it's been shown recently that there's protect it. Like it protects the brain. The pot protects the brain.
So back in like probably 2008, 2009, I used to talk to Nowinski about this idea I had. All my friends seemed to feel like they had permanent brain damage. And I mean, all of them, my peers, I'd ask them, they'd say, oh yeah. Like sometimes they say they see stars in the daytime. Sometimes they drift off. Sometimes it's headaches. And I always felt like I was different because I was like, wow, I don't have anything lasting. Like I get concussions all the time.
Yeah.
But I knew that I didn't have anything permanent or anything that was like rolling over. So I asked Chris Nowinski, could it be possible that the THC is protecting my brain? Because at that time, they were just coming out with articles how THC was effective with Alzheimer's. At first they said it would prevent the plaque from building on your brain. Then they started saying it would actually decrease the plaque. And then they started saying they could actually utilize it as a protectant, to discourage the plaque from ever even setting on or fixing it once you got it. And they don't utilize marijuana enough to find out what all they can do, but they're starting to. And so Nowinski said, you might be on to something, but you would need hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to do a test. And so it just kind of remained in my mind until a couple of years ago when the NFL was talking about allowing the football players to use it as a neurological protector and making medicine out of it. But I was way ahead of that. And I don't know, maybe it is a factor for me personally, maybe not, because, when you take it for something like that, you take massive amounts of a concentrated dose. That's not the same thing as just smoking a doobie, but,
right.
But, I have smoked quite a few doobies, so who knows?
So, Rob, I actually have a question now that you've become, like you said, you're learning more about CTE and concussions. And, obviously this is a relatively new study. We're all just learning. But I want to know what your take is now that you're more informed about this when it comes to certain guys, whether it's in the indie level or, major promotions, whatever it is. How do you feel about them doing specific spots and shots to the head and that sort of thing? How do you feel when you see that, knowing what you've been through and what you've learned?
So I have mixed feelings about that because, one, it's an art form. And for me, I've always appreciated being able to express myself as an artist. I feel like they should know. If young guys getting in the business, if they know that hitting their head, is dangerous and could lead to stuff, and they choose to do it anyway, I wouldn't necessarily agree with their choices. But at the same time, I don't think that I would necessarily hate them for it or try to ban them if they want to take shots to the head. It seems unnecessary now, but I don't want to stop. I don't even want to wrestle really, but when I do, I'm there to give it all I got, because that's the worker that I am. So, the moves that I'm going to do are still going to be dangerous. There's still going to be moves that people in the crowd wouldn't be able to survive. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
But I do believe, I do believe it's smart, to learn to protect the health, and I don't know exactly where the lines are drawn on responsibility. All the coaches are being asked to change the laws and the rules with kids football, with kids soccer. That seems like probably a good idea, And then when it comes to wrestling is crazy, UFC, MMA, that's crazy. Those guys are punching each other, kicking each other in the head. You see they get whacked and you see them go down. That's a concussion every single time. Yeah. And it's crazy. One thing that's crazy is in boxing, you get hit, your senses go out, your knees buckle, you fall down. But if you can get up by the 8 count, you can still keep fighting with a concussion.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And like when you learn about concussions, like you'll find out that like the natural instinct, when you get knocked out, is to get up and fight. Like it's just an instinctive thing that happens. So like even if you're not okay, you will still get up. Yeah. Yeah, if you can. Yep. Wow. Hey, so Rob.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to say this. I in the movie, in my documentary Headstrong, it's important to me to get out the point that I don't blame any wrestling promotions. It's not their fault. Yeah. Nobody ever made me do anything that I wasn't stupid enough to want to do on my own. But I do want to say when I first came to WWE, one time I was walking up the ramp and to go through Gorilla, and Vince was standing there after my match, and he says to me, he says, Rob, when you're taking those chair shots, you put your hands up.
Yep.
And I was like, Vince, that's for the other guys. I'm a lot tougher than the other guys. He said, no, listen to me. You put your hands up.
Yep.
And I said, yeah, but this is the way I do it. I mean, I've been doing it like this way for years. And he said, Rob, listen, I'm your father telling you, you put your hands up. And then it really got through to me. I was like, well, this is the boss. He's the guy that's paying me. Like, why else am I here? And he's telling me he's paying me to put my hands up. So I was like, all right. And then, I don't know how many chair shots I took to the head after that, but that always sticks out in my mind because he's never taken that tone with me before or after that, and he was serious. So, people thinking, trying to put all the heat on him, they're way off.
I agree with you, and I was going to bring that up if you didn't, because I mean, those class action lawsuits or the concussions and all that didn't end up going anywhere, but a lot of people signed up for that, and I was just like, man, first of all, like 80% of your career, like, happened before you even fucking got to WWE. Like, you were getting your fucking bell rung before you even got there. It's just like, and for me, Rob, I knew, like, okay, I was one of those guys too. Like, there was nothing that could get me to put my hands up because, I always, like, it was hard enough for a guy my size to come into wrestling and people go, oh, he probably can't handle hanging with, the big guys. So I had something to prove, right? So I'd never put my hands up, and I got my fucking bell rung so bad. It was, I mean, the feeling, like when balls hit you with the chair, you're out. You get that bell, like the bell really rings. And you're fucking just all of a sudden you're down on your back, and but yeah, no, it was just a sense of pride that I'm not a pussy, So
yeah, that's how I took it. That's how I was out there. I mean, basically, one of the things I get out of wrestling is proving how tough I am, and I mean, it's showing off. It's a fighting art where we're showing off fighting skills, with exaggeration and drama, but that's always been something that I've enjoyed out of it, and I always wanted people to be like, ooh, oh my God, like they would never survive a match that I'm going through right now, and that's still, I mean, the more fans think that they're smartened up, the less they respect, the wrestling, because they think that they could all do it, and they can. Now it's so easy for fans to get into it. They think they can write better, wrestle better, whatever, and it's a lot more of fans. But we came from a time when people were still behind it. It was still considered legitimate competition back when we got into it. We were still protecting the business back then.
And also, I don't want to speak for you, but like whenever I get in there, like especially with certain guys, it's like, say for instance, like a guy like you, I like it when we light each other up. It fucking feels good. Like there's something that I get off on, like about that,
Yeah, Chris Benoit told me one time, Rob, when you get in there, you kick me as hard as you can. One time I was like, Chris,
and I'm sure you obliged him.
Isn't the idea to isn't the idea to not really hurt each other, but try to make it look like we are? Or he goes, no, fuck that. He goes, you and I got an understanding. We both wrestled in Japan. We have an understanding. Go ahead and lay it in. Like,
did you have an understanding, or was it he was the only one that
he made me understand that we had an understanding.
Uh-huh. Wow. Yeah.
We did after that. Yeah.
Man.
So, so it's something that's needs to be talked about more, even though like it's got a lot of resistance. People don't like I think Mark Carano. I don't think really wants people to be talking about it and stuff. But fuck that guy. He's got nothing that I want.
So hey Rob, how do we navigate? Okay, still having wrestling matches, but we try to be mindful and try to protect our head moving forward.
Well, I mean, chair shots to the head is the obvious.
Obviously,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the most obvious. Otherwise, I mean, it's going to happen sometimes.
It does.
When you take a bump. Yeah, I think the thing is just to be educated and be aware of it. And then, honestly, I'm not for nerfing the world up, you know what I mean, and making it super soft and taking away from what it is. I think that pro wrestlers should be, the toughest guys in society that are out there, taking that abuse. Normal people.
Yeah.
You bump somebody's bumper in a parking lot, they get whiplash, they're out of work for 6 weeks, they got a neck brace. How many car crashes do we go through in one night? You know
Exactly.
what I mean? So I don't think that pro wrestlers should be treated like normal people, because we're not, and that's the whole draw of watching wrestling. We're a bunch of freaks, that are in there.
Yeah.
Some guys are 300 pounds of muscle, other guys doing 4 flips, whatever, but that's the entertainment part of it, is that they're not just normal people, although they look more and more normal as the smaller guys are overpopulating the business. But that's something that you and I opened the door for,
Sure.
And so it is what it is, and it has to evolve. Everything has to evolve. We used to ride our bikes, and it was cool to do a wheelie.
Yes.
Now these guys
catwalk.
are doing handstands
Yes.
on the handlebars, doing backflips. Like it's crazy. Guys that aren't even pros, kids in the street. So everything has to evolve, right?
Yep. So, all right. Well, hey man, we're coming up to the end of the show. Like, is there anything else you want to talk about before we go?
Yeah,
besides-
sure. First off, anyone listening, they can get Headstrong on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Vudu, and Fight TV right now. I know a lot of people are going to be waiting for it to get to Netflix or something, because that's what they do, but I'm not going to be moving it to a subscription platform in a big hurry. I'm keeping it on this transactional.
Gotcha.
And then, pretty soon I'm going to start seeing about making a DVD with bonus footage and stuff. Hopefully I can do that by the holidays. But then and then let it take its path from there. But right now, honestly, like, I get paid every time somebody watches it when they rent it or buy it. And so my for the production, trying to recoup our expenses and all that, we're gonna keep pushing it on there. And the reviews have been outstanding. Like, people that watch the movie, like, I couldn't have as a movie maker with the experience that I have, which isn't much, I couldn't have imagined people were going to love the movie and be so inspired by it. So totally proud of that, and proud to be so open and vulnerable and let people know the real me. Yeah, in my real life.
Well, that's what I was
like
going to
that.
mention, Rob. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's what I was going to mention earlier when you first came on, like a little while ago, like, and it popped into my head when you were talking about how much you go out to all these shows and these appearances and events, and that everyone loves you. And it's honestly, Rob, because you've always been 100% authentic. Like, where so everyone really, they like. With a lot of people in wrestling, you don't really know the real them. Like, people really feel like they know the real you, and I think they do. As much as you let them in. Like, what you've shown of them has been 100% authentic. And I just think, and that's one of the reasons I really, really like you a lot. Like, I love you, Rob. You're a fucking great guy, dude. And it's because of that.
Oh, well, cool. I appreciate that. That's stuff that I like to hear about myself, when people say that I'm genuine, because I am, and that's important to me. I'm the most honest guy I know.
Really. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So.
It's like, you can't expect the same out of other people. You can just study life and learn to deal with people the way that they are, and try to work on improving yourself. I say in the movie, by the way, that I'm not really looking to, I'm semi-retired, not really looking to wrestle a whole lot anyway, but I still do it sometimes. And I say in the movie, it's for the business. Mm-hmm. And if anybody doesn't understand what that means for the money. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I do. I've been doing it for 30 years, and my standards are much higher now, but when it's worth it, it's worth it. And so a big announcement recently came out. I just signed an agreement with Impact Wrestling.
Cool.
So
nice.
Yeah, so from the fans' perspective, they'll think like RVD's back, but really I've been wrestling like 10 to 12 times a year for the last 3 years. It's just normally been overseas, Italy, England, Australia. Yeah. And so now I probably won't have that many more matches. If I do have more matches, it's just, it'll be on TV. So that'll be cool. And I'm looking forward to that. I start next Monday, but it's not live, so I don't know. I guess it'll be on the following Friday. But yeah, I return next Monday in Toronto for my debut with Impact Television.
Well, that's great, because they've been putting out like a really good product, and they've got a great roster, and it's just it's a really good score for them to be able to sign you, Rob. Like, you bring a lot to the table for them, and I think it's a really good fit. And I can see a lot of possibilities, like who you. So, anyways, hey, what was that sound?
I don't know.
Anyway, hey, so
I don't
Rob.
know. I didn't hear anything you said over that emergency broadcast system.
Yeah. Anyways, it's
This is a test of the emergency broadcast.
That's Impact's a good fit for you. You're a great score for them. I don't know if you heard me say all that part, but you know, they have a really good roster. They put out a great product, and I think you fit in nicely there. A lot of possibilities for matches, and you know. So, anyways,
cool. Well, when I did the pay-per-view a couple of weeks ago, they really knew how to approach me with taking the booking, because they booked, besides myself, they booked Sabu and Katie Forbes, my girlfriend.
Nice.
So I was like, yeah, that's pretty nice. You know?
Yeah. Hey, so
that's good when it works out that way.
Hey, so real quick, one last thing. Where can everyone find the movie right now? Where can everyone find the doc if they want to go watch it?
Yeah, it's iTunes, because I get the biggest cut there, so just go to there. But also Amazon, Google Play, Vudu, and Fight TV. And Fight TV goes everywhere in the world. The other ones don't. Like, it's available on iTunes in the English-speaking countries.
Gotcha.
But then, yeah, the other countries, everywhere else, I guess they all get Fight TV. So hopefully people everywhere listening. And by the way, I'm in on the what is Sunday? The 27th or 28th?
28th. Yeah.
Okay. I'm in Liverpool at it's a big, huge wrestling convention called For the Love of Wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, Undertaker's there. I never see him do these things. They got Ric Flair, Bret Hart.
Yep. Mick Foley, I think, is going to be there. Yep.
What's that?
Mick Foley will be there. I'm pretty sure I saw his name listed on that. So.
Yeah, so it's a really big thing, and I do love Liverpool, so I'm going there. I'm always busier than I want to be, Sean. You know what I mean? Which is cool. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining right now. Sometimes I do, but like most people that I know, always are trying to be busy. They're always trying to do something, working at something. And I mean, I've always got projects that I'm working on. But for me, I don't know if I'm lazy or what, but I just like to be home mostly.
No, Rob, you're not lazy. You put in the work already. Like, and if you want to take this time in your life to, you know, to take some time to smell the roses, that's up to you, man. You've already put the work in. No one could call you lazy ever. So fuck that.
Well, I'm not sure if everybody understands, because for people to, like, usually the way it translates to people so they can understand it is to think about, like, the word try, you know, like, hey, I know you're trying to do comedy now. I'm not trying to do it. As a matter of fact, I'm not even calling people back normally, just because it's something I do once in a while or whatever. But and then with the word try, then it seems like you're failing if you're not doing it.
Right.
And a lot of people can only understand it that way. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, we are in control of our lives, and it's all about making the right choices, and I don't think that ever changes. That's a pretty consistent thing throughout life, right?
Yep. Rob,
all about making the right choices.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking the time to stop by this afternoon.
Thanks for watching Headstrong, dude.
It was great, and I can relate to so much of that. So I'm thank you for making that and sharing that with everyone. Thanks, man.
Cool. Yeah, so you can find me at The Real RVD everywhere on social media. And
Pro Wrestling Tees,
what I got coming up. Oh, and out here, by the way, out here is StarCast in Vegas at the end of May.
I'll see you there.
Are you going to be there?
I'll see you there. Yep. Hey,
cool.
One last thing. Do you have Pro Wrestling Tees store?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so they can find your stuff there too. So, hey, I just read that, and I talked about this earlier. I'm holding you on the phone. They paid out $5 million in royalties to all the people, like, since they've started. That's incredible.
I saw that today on Instagram too. So congratulations to those guys. And I know I'm at least $17 of that.
I'm half of that. So all right, Rob. Hey, Rob Benda, everyone. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. That was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, as fun as it can be talking about a subject like that.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I can't wait to see Rob again in Vegas coming up. He's just always so great to be around. Like, even when, like, it made me really sad. And he talks about this in his doc, how he went through a dark time and, you know, got divorced and his dog died. And I remember seeing him then. And Rob was always just the most positive guy to be around and was always upbeat. And when I saw him like that, it was fucking heartbreaking. This was a few years back now. And he's come up out of it very nicely. But, like, it was just so... When you see that person that every time you're used to seeing him, like, was the guy that brought the positive energy, like, and then just see him go through, and you just know he's hurting inside and going through shit, you know? And so, like, I'm grateful when I see Rob now, like, he's happy and, you know, doing his thing and, you know, dealing with shit, dealing with this kind of thing and all that. But, you know, dealing with it head on.
Yeah.
And you know, and anyways, yeah.
And he's always been such a fan favorite.
Yes.
Like, nobody does not
Yes.
like RVD. I've never met anyone who doesn't like RVD.
Which is why I had to go circle back around and tell him that about the authenticity, because that's 1,000% true. Like, that's why. Like, I mean, yeah, the matches were great and all of that, but on top of that, it's just that people they felt like they knew the real, authentic Rob, and it's because they did, and they do. So, all right, enough of that. I think we're done here.
Yeah.
So, real quick, what do you got going on, Denise?
Guys, make sure to follow Xpac12360 Show on Twitter. Make sure to check us out on Instagram, YouTube. You guys know the drill. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at _Denise Salcedo and YouTube.com/Denise Salcedo. I am about to hit 10K, guys. So, yay,
right.
go check that out.
I'm Steve Kaufman. You can find me on Twitter almost exclusively at Steve Kaufman. That is KAUFMANN. I'm involved in a lot of YouTube pages. So if I'm tweeting link, chances are I'm involved. So support me, support them.
All right. Did you already give my
No,
stuff?
not yours. I just did the show.
At the Real X-Pac on Twitter. At Real X-Pac on Instagram. What? Did you tell them 1, 2, 3, 60
Yeah, I
show
did.
and all
I
that
did.
shit? All right.
Cool.
All right, everyone. We'll see you right here next week on X-Pac 1, 2, 3, 60.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Mark B. Donica, Jimbo Frank, and the entire X-Pac 1, 2, 3, 60 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter at The Real X-Pac, and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.